Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel for more Superman content. Now, we're going to just jump over to this thing. This is the wrap from the wrap, Drew Taylor, the original article. And what I'm doing is going to go through this. He says every Superman movie ranked. You can go to the wrap.com. I'll try to put it in the information below, and we can check it out. Get that light on. All right, and but we'll really quick go through his. I'm not going to scan through it all piece by piece, but I'm going to just tell you what his rating was or ranking was and what movies he's talking about, and then I'm going to re-rank them and give a little bit of a conversation, a little bit of an explanation. Not a whole lot, just me talking, but I hope you enjoy it. So let's get this going real quick. And you're welcome to go read what he says and get all the details of why he says it, all his commentary and all of that. Let's see if this is helpful. It's a little bit better, isn't it? Hope so. Okay, so he has from 17 movies. And don't be confused. When he says 17 movies, he's including different cuts of the same movie. Like Batman v Superman, the theatrical cut and the Ultimate Edition, he'll have them ranked in different places. So, that being said, you could say that for Supergirl too. There's 3 different cuts, I think, that are available. I think normally just the international one is what most people know, and then there's an extended cut. But we can talk about that some other time. But anyway, his rating is number 17, Steel, from 97, I think it was, maybe. After the death of Superman, they had this Steel comic, or one of the persons that took on the persona of Superman was a steel worker, and he created a suit of steel. And so the movie's based off of that. You know, it's kind of a throwaway spinoff. Um, but whatever. Anyway, he has number 17. He includes it because it's a type of Superman movie. I mean, at that rate, you could include a few others that are types of Superman, but it really is in the comic book storyline that this person is another Superman. And I forget the movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it. So I'm not sure how connected it is to the Superman character, even. And he does start with 1978's Superman the movie. So instead of going back to any of the serials or George Reeves, Superman and the Woman, or even talking about any of the other live action versions or any TV series at all, and not dealing with animation for the most part. So I'll come to that in a second. Anyway, number 16, he puts Justice League, the theatrical cut. Number 15, he has Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Number 14, he has Superman Returns. Number 13, he has Batman vs. Superman, the theatrical cut. Batman v Superman. And then number 12, Superman 2, the Richard Lester version, the theatrical. And then number 11, he has DC League of Super Pets. So definitely an animated movie. So why don't we have a lot of animated movies on there? I mean, wouldn't any of them rank higher than some of these? And how many are there? Quite a few, but however many there are, yeah, it could have been added on here, and then you get into Justice League and the Batman and Superman movies where they're together and stuff like that. There'd be a lot on the list then. I guess he might have had limited space for his article. But it seems like he may have been filling the article with some superfluity. Anyway, number 10 he has Supergirl from 1984. Number 9, The Flash. This is the cameos that are in The Flash of Superman. Uh, there's one at the beginning of the movie. If you missed it, go check it out. And then there's more toward the end of the movie. And there should have been another one. Alright, then Teen Titans Go to the movies. Now, I vaguely recall this. I should go back and watch it again. But, yeah. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, like I said, I need to go back and watch it. But I believe it's Nicolas Cage doing the voice of Superman. Which is cool. Then number 7 is Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition. Okay. Number 6, Man of Steel. Then number 5 is Superman 3. Number 4, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Number 3, Superman 2, The Donner Cut. Number 2, Superman, the original Superman from 1978. And then for number 1, surprise, 2 days after the release date, Superman 2025. Like I said, this article was from the 13th of this month, July. So that's his rating of those things. And I'm going to just re-rate them and give you a slight bit of information, kind of give you a few thoughts about some of the movies. So this may go a little longer than I was expecting to. When I first started, because I thought I was just going to go ahead and throw it out there, but I think I'm going to talk about it just a little bit more to give you a few more thoughts about the movie. And I'm going to tell you, the rating is just probably in a what would I watch before I would watch the other ones. It doesn't necessarily mean that I think that the movies that are lower on the list, or first that I'm going to mention, from 17 and so forth, are less enjoyable or completely trash or anything like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that. But there may be trash involved. But let's just stay with it the best we can here. Let's see if we can be clear and concise, if we can. Number 17, again, I don't disagree. Steel is kind of thrown in there. I may rewatch it and say, hey, there's a lot of potential in it. I'm not sure. I would like to think that it could be done today, in our day and age. I think that several things in animation could be done. I don't know if the animated movies are allowed to directly remake the comics or not. I say that because Superman Doomsday came out and Superman, The Death of Superman came out. And both of them variate from the comics. And I want to say especially the Doomsday one, if my memory serves. I'm going to go back and watch them again. But both of those have been out. And then The Death of Superman, if I'm not mistaken, was followed up by The Reign of the Supermen. And I'll have to check that out too, see what I can find out about exactly how that is. But yeah, the potential could be there to remake different comic adaptations, probably a series, if you will, somehow creating the death of Superman through Funeral for a Friend, and then the Reign of the Supermen, and the Return of Superman for a very brief probably the last couple of episodes, maybe just the last episode. I guess just you just want to get there, and maybe even the new series that followed that. You remember when Superman had the lots of hair, the long hair, for a little while. So I mean, it's something. I'm just not sure how free they are to recreate that, because then it would be really neat to see the new 52. I mean, legitimately taken from the comic books and directly put onto the screen, and then there's a whole nother series because they've redone and rebooted recently the DC Comics a bunch of times. Well, I say a bunch of times, several times. Um, and it would be neat. I, there is Justice League Crisis, 3-part movies, but it would be interesting to see the entire comic book, come to life uh, in an animated form. And I mean, it's all just laying right there in front of them if they want to do it. The pictures are there. That that really is the storyboards. They're just filling in the blanks. But anyway, I've spent too long saying there could be potential for that kind of thing, the Steel storyline, to really come to life in animated form. Yeah, or to be refigured nowadays. It's good possibility. Yes, I would think. But anyway, whatever you think of it. Number 16, I place Supergirl 1984 there because there was potential involved. But I, whenever I see it, I'm like, where is this coming from for the basis? And I think there's a slight explanation at the beginning, but it still doesn't make sense. She leaves Argyle City. Is that what it is? Uh, it's not even right. Okay, but if I'm not mistaken, she's from Kendor. And anyway, there's probably some different iterations. I'm going to get the Woman of Tomorrow, uh, uh, omnibus, I guess, but storyline, and read that and see what I think about that storyline here in the coming weeks. But Supergirl from 1984 had great potential. Some parts of it were played really well, and Helen Slater plays it earnestly. Um, she appears the part. You know, um, I remember having the comic book, Supergirl comic book. I'm not sure where I might find that anymore. Maybe you could go to the comic shop and just look and see if it's in the stacks. Anyway, but there was potential for it. But she leaves the city and then she flies out of the ocean or the lake or river or wherever she's at. Is she up in Canada? I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched it. Gonna watch it here again soon. In fact, I just ordered a new Blu-ray copy of it. I've got it in DVD, but I wanted the Blu-ray edition from Warner Archive. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do some kind of review on it then. Sorry about that. All right, so that's number 16. Like I said, a lot of stuff done pretty well. There's certain things in it that I say are actually really good, story wise, but then they didn't execute it properly. And there's a lot of wasted talent in in some of these movies. Anyway, number 15, I put Superman from this year, 2025. There's so many missed opportunities, so many ridiculous choices, so much potential just wasted. The movie was cut short toward the end. Has been re-edited. You can tell some of these things, and the movie doesn't not linger and give some time to breathe. It just doesn't give the time to certain things, and I think some of the editing choices were bad, and they just threw away so much stuff. Okay, the Hammer of Bravia, spoiler alert, if you will, the Hammer of Bravia appears at the very beginning of the movie and just is gone. Uh, because they just throw away the idea of the character and throw away the opportunities that they had to work that into a storyline that made better sense. So, I mean, it was a choice, bad choice, you know, and it could have benefited from somebody like me reading over the script and looking at storyboards and saying, well, why does the Hammer Bravia disappear at this point? You know, and why does this and that? You can tell me, you know, spoiler alerts, guys. If you don't want to know, then don't keep watching. But you can tell me, oh, he's Ultraman, so therefore he's just Ultraman after that. Okay, well, he was talking before that, and then he went mute after that. Why? What's the point? Doesn't make any sense. These things don't make sense. He like screams one or two times during the later fights. That's it. That's it. It makes no sense. There was so much potential. There was so much possibility. Okay, and you also used the character Ultraman. You plainly stated that's who he was, and then threw that away because he's not Ultraman. He's not the comic book Ultraman. I would have loved to see the comic book Ultraman come to life and really be there. I it listen. If you know the movie already, you know Lex Luthor created interdimensional portal. Okay, and they could have written it into the story that he found this guy Ultraman and you know brought him in, and then you introduce him and you explain how his character works. You know why. I, I don't know a lot about Ultraman, so what I've heard is kryptonite makes him stronger, and the yellow sun, you know, is weakening to him. So he would be wearing the suit, the dark suit, and the cover up on his face, in order for you not to, you know, not to see him was one thing, but in order for um, him to be protected from the sun. So that makes sense. Those kind of theories made sense. And then James Gunn decides that's not how he's going to play it. He's going to just take the character and say, oh, no, he's a clone, which is the Bizarro kind of storyline. Why not make him Bizarro then? But he didn't make him Bizarro either. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that he was capable of doing something that would have been great and threw it all away. And honestly, I don't believe when people say that he knows the comics very well at all. Especially with the choices he made and claiming things were comic accurate that are not comic accurate, and then doing these kinds of things. That that's that's two characters just to throw away. Now, I assume there's some other maybe iterations of Bizarro. I forget how Smallville handled it. I know they did handle it and brought him in, but I don't remember if they had him be a clone or he was something else. I can't remember right now. I have to go back and watch it and see what Smallville did with it. I'm fine with iterations of things that are different. I apologize. I guess there's a storm coming here, so I'm getting calls about it. Not from friends or anybody, but anyway. But yeah, anyway, that's where I rank Superman because of so much missed opportunity. And we'll talk about some other things about it later on if you like. Um, it's there's a lot of rhetoric out there to try to hype the thing up. Now, I will tell you this. I'm glad if you went to a theater that was full and literally full. Uh, but it has not been full where I'm at in any showing, and the pre-sold out Fandango Amazon screening, either if it was sold out, there wasn't half of the people there that bought tickets. And they bought tickets to a 4DX 3D, which is almost $30. Okay. So if that's the case, somebody wasted money. Lots of people wasted money. If they sold out that theater, it's probably 120 seats or something like that. And you're talking about, 60 people, 50 people, we'll just be conservative with it. 50 people not showing up at $30 a ticket. 50? Did you hear me right? You heard me right. 50 people, $30 a ticket. That's a lot of money. Okay? And I'm not sure how that I buy that people are going to purchase tickets and then not show up. And when I watched it the following Thursday, also 4DX 3D, my son and I watched it for the first time in that setting, the moving chairs and all of that. And again, it was supposedly sold out all around. For weeks, we were the only ones with tickets. And then it sold out next to us and in front of us and behind us, and just spread out to about maybe a little more than half, maybe 60% of the seats looked sold when you looked at the information online, uh, the app, and those different things that you can look at the seats and see what's available. And I looked around and during the movie, okay, next to us where they were sold out, and in front and next and behind us, and off to the right and left and everything, probably less than half of the places that were of the tickets that were sold. That means there's about 30% of the theater was filled, and then 30% was not. Again, I'm not sure how many seats are in. I would probably have to I'd better go and count to make sure, but I would say about 80 seats in the whole theater, right? And just being trying to do some quick math. If there's 80 seats in the whole theater and 40 of them are sold, right? And half of them show up, they're talking about 20 people in the theater. That sounds about right. Maybe 30. We'll give it 30 though. 30 people in the theater, but I'm telling you, at least twice as much were marked out as sold. So my experience has been people are either buying tickets and not coming to the theater. They're not showing up. Or they're not buying tickets. Some entity is buying tickets of ghosts, people that don't exist. Um, just buying empty seats to ramp up the numbers. And that's unfortunate. It should not be that way. Okay? I believe that it has happened. I believe uh, there were stories that were coming out years ago about a certain movie where they're saying the theaters were completely sold out and people were walking into empty theaters and they watch a movie with an empty theater. Now that may or may not mean that it's really that way. It, there's a lot that's possible with that. However, the theory goes, the studio is buying up um, seats, and people were not going to see them. Maybe they were buying tickets and handing them out for free, raffles, giveaways, or whatever. And the person got the ticket and I didn't pay for it, so I'm not really wanting to go, so they didn't go. Maybe that's the case. Or maybe they just that not theater, but that studio just bought tickets and, you know, trying to hide the fact that it wasn't succeeding as a movie. And anyway, but that's been my experience. Sometimes there've been some more people, sometimes less. And right now, Jurassic World Rebirth is pre-sailing more than Superman in the theater that I go to, and Superman is they're actually pretty evenly split now because what it did it knocked Jurassic World out of it completely, right, from all the premium screens, except maybe one or two showings, and after the first weekend, pretty much, and maybe most of the week because I went back a little bit later. They they evened it out. So right now I could go to the app and find as many showings, in the 40X and the RPX and the Screen X's, all the premium stuff. It's just kind of split between the two of those movies. And then they each have, a couple of theaters available for the, standard shows. But yeah, if I go to the app and click on a time for Jurassic World. There's 4 or 5 seats sold, and look over at Superman for around the same time. Not the exact same time, but they're around the same time. And just comparatively, Superman is maybe a couple seats showing, maybe nothing at all. And maybe when the time comes, of course, people walk in, they walk up to the counter. They still like to do that, get their popcorn and all that, and they'll buy a ticket when they get there because no doubt about it, you can get into the theater, and where I live, okay. And I don't live in a tiny place, and it's just we just I'm just telling you my experience again. That that's how it is right now. Anyway, going on. We got to go on because I spent way too much time on that one. Number 14 is Superman 2, The Donner Cut, is where I put it. 14. It's very interesting, and all the behind the scenes is really cool. So I'd love to see those kind of things, and I like to see the idea of this, but it's incomplete. There's no retcon of the first movie. There's no Donner Cut of Superman 1 and 2. And that's where I think this falls apart and has to be pushed back. And I'll tell you this, it took a long time for me to be able to find the Richard Lester uh, cut or version again. Um, it was like they were suppressing it at some point. It wasn't for sale, wasn't available, is what I'm trying to say. Now, of course, they've re-released, they've 4K and the bigger a Blu-ray box set and all this stuff. They've re-released all of it, and I could go and grab that. Probably should have done it, but I'm not going to do it now. But yeah, it's incomplete because there's nothing to take it from. You need to go, which wouldn't change much. The first Superman the movie, and wherever the ending is, the ending's got to change to lead you into Superman 2, the Donner Cut. But it doesn't do that. If at the beginning of the movie somebody said, okay, so at the end of Superman 1, this is what happens. And I'll have to rewatch it again to see if I think theoretically they're doing that, or you're just saying basically, okay, at this point right here of Superman 1 is where Superman 2 starts, and just forget what you know of the ending of Superman 1. But again, the problem with that is it's incomplete. What happens at the end of Superman 1? Right? Because I think basically what happens is he throws the missile into space, and it blows up and frees the criminals. And then the criminals head toward Earth. Well, in the meantime, it's not really telling you what's going on with the end of Superman. The end of Superman the movie. So again, the end of Superman the movie has the back in time, however you want to take that. It goes back in time and fixes the situation. If that doesn't happen, then because it happens at the end of, spoiler alert again. But if it happens at the end of this Superman 2, the Donner cut, then, um, you know, it's he just does it twice. Well, he could do that in every single movie and just fix everything, can't he? Well, but anyway, that's the idea that I have. Now, like I said, I like going to it. I like seeing the possibilities and the concept of what he was doing. Yeah, I think would have possibly changed too. Um, but it's what he did at the time, and of course, all the intercuts um, of old footage or test footage, and stuff like that is again interesting, pretty neat to watch, but you know, is not really, it's not complete, and it's not as perfect as some people want to believe it is. Um, so anyway, going on 13, number 13, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Pretty low on the list. It's dreadful what Canon did. Um, I have watched there's a cut on YouTube that has the added footage that puts back that storyline of the first Nuclear Man, and um, and fixes a little bit of special effects in different places, and pretty neat in some of the things that it does. And I really, that version I would put up there probably three or four ahead of this. One, two, three, four. Yeah, a little bit ahead of where I have it now, because it is so bad. Uh, you know, it is what it is. I think there's a capability um, of people in our day and age being able to. I mean, you got to get paid to do it. This is where the rub is, of reworking things with computer graphics and CGI and all that to really change these kind of things, really update the special effects and stuff like that. So, Superman, the original movie and the second movie, and all of that could all be redone. And the AI work with voice applications and stuff could really be done. Now, how much it would cost? That's probably the limiting factor. That's probably the thing that holds people back. But you could do something, the CGI version of Superman 1, 2, 3, 4, and, put out something and say, this is what it could have been. This is maybe more what was the vision of the filmmakers at the time, and for a new audience that understands how these things work and stuff. It's not perfect. The Quest for Peace. I know people love the speech at the end. A lot of people love it. There's a missed opportunities, and there's mistaken ideas in some of that, and I'm not going to get deep into all that, but it just is what it is, and you know it could have been done differently. I look at it. Superman 4 is the passion project of Christopher Reeve. He said, "This is what I want to do. I'm going to have some control over the story and the writing and all that." And then, of course, Canon, um, cut the budget out from under them. Doesn't anyway. It seems like the title cards and stuff could have been done at least the way the first two or three movies did them. Yeah, instead of the way it was done. It was so bad. And but it holds a special place in my heart. I don't know. It might be, though, that this was the first Superman movie that I saw in the theaters. I might have seen Superman 3, but I don't remember if I did. The earliest memory I have of going to a movie was going to see the Adventures of Hercules or Hercules with Lou Ferrigno, and he was pulling the tree out of the ground. Um, Unfortunately, I was kind of running late for the movie for one reason or another. But I remember jumping out of a van. Um, I think I was in Tallahassee and going and watching Hercules. So that's the earliest I remember going to a movie. I don't remember what year Hercules came out. Let's see if I can find that real quick. Uh, Hercules. Hercules. Oops. With Lou Ferrigno. 1983. And I don't know if it was, you know, right when it came out. I would have been about 5 years old then. Um, but yeah, I don't know if it was right when it came out or if it was a rerun in the theaters. Back in the day, it ran a few times. And I do think there's a second movie, but I don't believe the second movie. That'd be interesting. I'm gonna save this. Hercules. Oh, that's another Canon Films, by the way. Um, but yeah, I remember the bear fight and the tree and all that stuff. And I remember the snakes and the boat and all the stuff. Now, I wonder how I remember that because, like I said, you know what? We might have been there for the very beginning of it, and then we went out and got snacks, and I came back in with the snacks. I'm not sure, but the Superman 4 is, as I remember it, probably the first I recall going to the theater and watching a Superman movie on the big screen. So, and I don't remember a whole lot about it. I do remember parts of it, and as a little kid or a young child, again, Superman, what was it, 1987? Or, yeah, 1987. And yeah, that's when I was seeing it. But I remember I cut out from the newspaper the little clipping where it showed in the theater, and it's the little drawing of him. Um, I got it right here. Pulling the nuclear or flying away with a nuclear warhead. It's a drawing of Superman. So I remember that. I thought about recently getting the poster for that just as a nostalgia kind of thing to enjoy um, that memory. Uh, put it somewhere. That was the first Superman movie, and this is what I saw in black and white in the newspaper, and that's where we went to the theater and so forth. I wonder if that theater is still open uh, or not. Anyway, but yeah, we're going back. That's for me, number 13. Number 12, I put Justice League, the 2014. Dreadful what WB studio heads did. Dreadful what they did. And they did it. If you don't think that there's monetary, um, this the the corruption of the money issue, okay, is so plain. Super, not Superman, but Justice League has Superman in it for part of the time. But what they did is a story all on its own, and I'm not going to get into all the story, but just the fact that it was made clear that they said we need to release this at this time this year because our bonuses are based on it. They were getting paid additional monies to get it out. These CEOs or studio heads, wherever they were, I believe it's Walter Hamada and some others. Um, you can go look it up. It's not like this is a secret what these people's names are. They did wrong things. They wronged the fandom. They wronged the filmmakers. They wronged the actors, but they wronged the fans so that they could make a little bit more money. And it lost the studio money. Now, how they get more money for releasing it when it then turns around to lose money, at least theoretically, it's lost money for the studios. And I'm going to do a video about the box offices in a little while, and we'll see about this. But anyway, the release, just every choice they made was bad, except the ones that were like, this is what Zack Snyder shot, and it's just presented. Okay, every choice was bad. Every decision, all the reshoots, everything. Look at the trailers before that show, for example, um, I've said this somewhere else, but for example, they show Cyborg coming to the window, the broken window, with this beautiful brick structure. I mean, this beautiful shot of him standing there as Cyborg. It's not covered up or anything. It's gorgeous. It's a great special effects shots, good CGI work, and all that. And he's looking out that window and all the things that are going on at that moment. Okay, there's some I can't quite remember, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that they reshot that. They did a reshoot of that, and you look at the trailer for that shows that, or just watch the movie and you'll see the difference. The side of the building is a different building or different lighting or whatever, or maybe it's all CGI. Who knows? And Cyborg has then a hoodie on and all this, so all the CGI work was just eliminated. I mean, think about what you're talking about. What in the world was that decision? It was already completed. The shot was done. It was beautiful. And you went back and did it again and made it worse. Come on. Every decision they made was bad. 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 I mean, it's terrible. And I mean, and everything that was terrible about the movie started getting criticisms, and they started criticizing that Zack Snyder had done these things. I was just listening to some woman uh, rewatching where it was talking about how they were um, objectifying the women and stuff like that, and Zack Snyder didn't. And she especially mentioned that the Flash falls on Wonder Woman's body and into her bosom, and then you know looks around, does this thing, and sorry, that wasn't Zack Snyder's shot though, but she accused him of it. She accused him of that and the objectifying of women. And but if it's not Zack Snyder's shot, whose shot was it? It was a remake, retake, or pickup shot. Totally unnecessary, jokey joke garbage. So uh, this Justice League fiasco that happened in 2017 and all the rhetoric that surrounded it sounds really familiar today. with some of the stuff going on right now. Uh, you can compare the two, but you need to go back and actually look at things from that time frame. Okay, uh, but do what you will. But dreadful what the studio heads did, and how in the world they make money by ripping off the fans. They make money where there is none. The movie supposedly lost money, so they were taking from something else, and attributing it to the release of that. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Anyway, that movie. Well, I won't get into that, the makings of it. Anyway, the 11, number 11 on my list is Teen Titans Go to the movies. Still a fun cameo, but it's not a Superman movie. Yeah, it's not a Superman movie. So it's there's a cameo. I say this already that I think Nicolas Cage voiced it. I do need to go revisit that. Number 10 though, League of Super Pets. So we're getting these cartoon movies, these animated movies, and especially these ones that's fun cameo, but it's not Superman. It's John Krasinski, I believe, that was Superman in that movie. And I forget who Batman was. I'm going to have to revisit that one too. The League of Super Pets. So again, some fun. There's a fun movie involved, and um, we'll see Dwayne the Rock Johnson go from being Krypto. So Krypto's not new, Krypto's being borrowed. Anyway, not going to say that too much. I'm going to quit with that. But yeah, fun cameos. Not really a Superman movie. But I'll put it there. Because I think, well, these a lot of these could be moved up and down. Possibly most of these cartoon ones could go down to say number 13 and 14 and push up 14 and 13 a little bit higher. That's just to troll some of you that don't like that I'm criticizing a movie here. Anyway, number 9, The Flash. More cameos. Still not a Superman movie, but I would keep this here no matter what. It could go down one, but it it would generally stay there because of certain things that are in it. I don't have as much problem as some people do with the effect there. If I watched it in 3D as well, and the 3D, for some reason, sometimes special effects work better in the 3D version than they do in that, and it's possibly because you kind of darken everything when you put on the 3D glasses. Everything gets a little dark. I've watched Superman, the new one, in 3D as well, RPX 3D, and the 4DX 3D as well. So I've seen it, I think, 3 times in 3D, and then another 2.5 times in regular. But anyway, the Flash, I think, does a little bit better with the 3D in some places, but at the same time, people are looking at it, and the it may be more your mind is telling you this isn't real, so it looks fake. Where it's not necessarily fake, it's stylized for sure. Um, Possibly incomplete. I mean, I can't imagine that they weren't saying you need to cut the budget at every corner because we're getting rid of you. You're not going to follow up the Flash with anything else. Um, well, I've got some theories that may exist, but basically, that's what they were saying. Not going to do anything more with this character, this version of the character. So cut it all out. Okay, well, it'll make sense to say that this is our finished special effect on this because it's not supposed to be perfectly real, things like that. That it's an explanation. Whereas it could just come out and say the studio heads are making another mistake, a whole bunch of mistakes, in fact. Um, they just can't stop themselves. Anyway, number 8, Superman 3. I think this is a solid movie, especially for the times. And it expanded the Superman universe. So people, say it's Richard Pryor's movie, and so well, it's not. It's got plenty of Superman in it, and you got to introduce the other characters that are leading it in some other direction. That are doing the bad characters, the villains that have to be stopped at some point. It also ranks high up there just for having that. Man, I wanted that game so bad. Somebody ought to put that out. We would still play it. I know for sure. There's hundreds and thousands, probably, maybe millions of Superman fans that would get that game if you make it and would love playing it. Now, it's sort of a Superman game. It's the villain of the Supermans, But anyway, um, it's the villain's game, is what I mean. So, you could make it work, but come on, Atari, come back and do that. I mean, we're already looking at pixelated stuff with Minecraft. I guarantee you, somebody could make this movie version, this version of the video game from the movie Superman 3. Do it. Again, I think it's solid for the times. There's computer things going on. There was all these theories. There was, the person being taken over and made into a robot and stuff like that. All that plays into it. It has those, huh? It's those things that make older movies, especially movies even that were for families or children, or supposed to include children, and how there was scariness involved. I mean, Gremlins was beloved by little kids. Just the way it was, at least from my memory, we enjoyed Gremlins, and Gremlins is arguably a horror movie, that's dreadful, but plays toward family audiences. It's really weird. But anyway, that would be something to talk about while sitting there watching. Be like, oh wow, look at what's going on right there. That's really amazing. But anyway, solid movie. Solid movie. Um, there's some things in it that's like, what are you talking about? That shouldn't be happening. That should not have happened. Uh, but be that as it may, let's go on to number 7. I'm going to put there Batman v Superman theatrical. It's not as bad as some of you would like to believe, but it was cut short, and it did take out, especially Clark Kent's investigative, reporting. And even though he's disobeying his boss, probably should get fired for stuff like that. But whatever. But yeah, it was a story that was being told kind of behind the scenes. Well, that's behind the scenes. I know enough about it from behind the scenes, just following the movie and following the trajectory of it. And before it ever came out in theaters, um, there was an interview or an explanation from Zack Snyder saying it's being cut down for the theatrical release, but we're going to release an Ultimate Edition on the Blu-ray and ultimately 4K after that, and you'll be able to see the full version of it when it comes out on Blu-ray. And it was announced before it came out, and critics decided to jump on it, and whether it just didn't measure up to their expectations, or they really thought that certain things were poorly executed, or whatever the case may be. I'd have to go back and look at some of that. The scoring is weird. I have seen scores from critics where they give it a B and it will be rated a rotten. I've seen it, okay? And I've seen it enough times for me to say, well, that's going to impact the score, okay? They rated a B or they rated a 3 out of 5, and it's, you know, rated badly as rotten. Sometimes they don't even rate it; it's just given a rotten score. Um, but I saw it a lot because I was watching a lot of that stuff with Rotten Tomatoes for Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and Justice League and and a few other things, but mostly those first two movies there. Oh man. But and watching reviews too, and I don't do it much anymore because Rotten Tomatoes. Call you out again here. I have posted my Superman review for 2025, and it's very thought out. It's very well written. But I have posted it, and you, Rotten Tomatoes, has taken it down. So they have taken down my review multiple times because you just go back to normal, right? And then I re-upload it, and then they delete it again, and I re-upload it. Now I look at it for a few minutes. It's sitting there on my list of reviewed movies. Now I've reviewed 6 or 7 others: F1, Jurassic World. Um, did I do Elio? I'm not sure if I did that. And several other movies though recently, and none of them are taken down. Things like Superman was taken down, and then also Snow White. They've taken down the Superman review probably 6 times now, at least. And then I'll put it back up. But I went on to Letterboxd and then Criticless. So I'm posting there now and trying to kind of catch up with Criticless and Letterboxd. Pretty well caught up with Letterboxd as far as the things that I have on Rotten Tomatoes. So transferred them over there. Anyway, yeah, Rotten Tomatoes is doing some rotten things. They're keeping that audience score really, really high and not allowing certain people to present in, you know, a case for the way they feel about the movie. All right, so do what you will. But obviously, there's cahoots going on. There's uh, maybe payoffs and other things like that. But yeah, Rotten Tomatoes hasn't been uh, trustworthy for a while. Number six. Number six, I put Superman Returns there. After rejecting this movie for not being Man of Steel, the same critics reject Man of Steel for not being this movie. It's really, really strange. And there's things that I enjoy about this movie. I can go back and watch it and get the feeling of Superman in it. The feeling of Superman, I believe, is there. People try to criticize different parts of the movie. The main beef I have this beef with it. That Perry White says, does he still stand for truth, justice, all that stuff, instead of and the American way? And I'll always be against that. You need to properly define what the American way is, and I think we still know what that really is, and stand by it and say this is the way it is. Uh, don't be upset with that other countries because you keep wanting to come to America. Otherwise, you wouldn't be trying to get across the borders, and trying to immigrate and trying to become a citizen and marry our citizens so that you can come over and stay. Why would you want to come here if it's not great? If there's not what's called the American way. So yeah, the American way should have been in that movie, but that did cause an uproar, at the time that I recall. And then the other uproar was like after you left the theater, there was moments where you're like, I'm not really sure what I saw, at certain points, and you kind of had to go back and watch it again. But yeah, Superman Returns, and it really needs a special edition or a director's cut um, that includes at least that trip to Krypton at the beginning. And then instead of telling us that this and that's what you did, we can watch that you do this and somehow explain time uh, while it's happening and that sort of thing. Anyway, Superman Returns, still pretty good. Uh, um, I'm going to give it this place, and again, number 6, because it still feels like Superman. There's some epic moments in it, epic moments, and comic book shots in it. They exist, and it's great. When those things are there, that's great. Um, talk about some other things another time. Number 5, we're going to get done with this because this is an hour and we're going to just breeze right through this. Number 5, I have Zack Snyder's Justice League. It is a masterpiece, but it's an ensemble. Superman enters about after 2.5 hours into the movie. It would be ranked higher if just on the comic book list, but as a Superman movie, it has him in it, and it's great where he's in it. The epic moments with Superman. I have no complaints about any of this. I don't have any criticisms for the movie really. I will watch it. If somebody wants to tell me something they see, I will look and see what they're talking about, and then go back to them, or see if it really matters what they're trying to say. But yeah, Zack Snyder's Justice League, number 5 on this list. Now, the next 4 are all Superman movies, right? And we'll get to it. Superman number 2, the theatrical. So I say, whatever the controversy, this movie feels complete in the series. It's what I grew up with also for Superman 2. What I saw, other than the TV cut, which I don't have it, so I'm not sure where it is unless there's deleted scenes, and those are all what would have been in the TV cut. I do have the television cut for the original, the Superman the movie, which is 3 hours long or longer. I think it's just 3 hours long. They wanted to fill more time and get more advertising dollars. Oh, you want the Friday night movie? It's Superman. Oh yeah, yeah, I want some. When can I get that slot? What slots do you have available? Well, good thing for you, we added an hour plus to the movie or something like that. I'm not sure how long Superman is. We added a whole bunch of time. You can put your ad right here. Advertise for toothpaste. Have somebody dress up like Superman, and you're going to get a little bit more revenue, I'm sure. Anyway, number 3. That again, Superman 2, the theatrical. Number 3, Superman from 1978. I don't know what more could be said, but for these older movies, the time does weigh into it. The effects are what they are. So, for example, when Superman says, General Zod, would you care to step outside? Or whatever he says in the Donner Cut. Have you ever heard of the freedom of the press? Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not really purchasing that. Let's see here. Anyway, that deserves to be in like a commentary in the movie itself. I apologize. But at that moment, uh, two of the characters fly out the window, but it looks like one of them just flops downward and is going down, not flying through and out, towards Superman and trying to find him, but just crashes through and is falling down, and of course cuts right away. That's one of those kind of things could be, fixed CGI wise, and you just stop. We're gonna manipulate it and recreate this somehow. It would be pretty cool to do. But again, that's where the time weighs in. The time factor comes into that, and these are a product of their times, and they have the limitations of their times. If they were done a pure remake, like How to Train Your Dragon was just given a remake, if the 1978 Superman was like, we're going to recast and we're going to find people that are very similar to them. They're going to act the best way they possibly can to it. They're going to, all this earnestness will be put into it. And you get a suit very close to the same, maybe a little bit different, and make sure we got some. Anyway, I'm not saying to do that to desecrate anything, because if they did do that, we would still have the original movies. We're not going to be robbed of our original movies just because somebody remakes that movie with existing technology advances and for a new generation to enjoy the same story, but then do a beat for beat, pretty much, remake. Like I said, with How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake is beat for beat almost. There's a few little differences, that you could say, we should be doing something else, but I don't know. Anyway, number two, you probably know, probably close. You know what the 2 and 1 are going to be, but it might have them flipped. But I put Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition. It's a fantastic piece of cinema. It turned nearly all critics that gave bad reviews to giving a great review. I watched so many critics who were like that were really giving bad reviews. I watched the bad reviews, and then when they saw the Ultimate Edition, they were like, "This is fantastic. Takes away all the problems that I had with the original, the theatrical cut, and so forth." So, what kind of extended cuts like that really does this turnaround of people's thoughts and ideas? They say, "I hated this movie." Oh, I watched that extended cut, this Ultimate Edition, this director's cut, and it's fantastic. No, most of them is just as extended scenes and more story to tell. A few more special effects or different action scenes or something like that. They don't really. They may add something to the movie, but they don't turn things around like this. But who does this besides Snyder's director's cuts? That's the only thing I can think of that's so much better than the theatrical versions. All right, and I haven't watched all the different kinds. Okay, so um, I may some of these things I may not have anything to compare them to, and I'm not trying to say everything Snyder. Okay, there's some things from Zack Snyder that I am not a fan of, and not going to be a fan of, and not going to really to watch it in any enjoyment at all. There's things that Snyder puts out and it's like, nope, don't like that. Don't care for it. I see where you were going with it, maybe, but nah, didn't need to be, and I'm pretty well not caring. Anyway, the Ultimate Edition, like I said, announced before the theatrical even came out. Fantastic, uh, just so good, and in all ways. is such a good movie. Number one is, of course, Man of Steel. This is the very best of the best. It's near perfection. It gets better every time that I see it. It is a fantastic movie. It's a spectacle. It is it again, the depth of it all and the comic book ness of these movies is amazing. There's different ways to do a comic book movie, if you will. You could introduce just elements that are very comic book like. It's not it's otherworldly, basically, to introduce these kind of things. Uh, that's one way to do it. The other way is to bring the comic book into reality. Okay, and that's the criticisms that I hear about Man of Steel. I listen to them, and then I'm like, that's either your opinion about it, or I'm like, where do you have that problem? Like somebody says CGI is bad. I'm like, please show me where you think the CGI is bad, because I would love to see you explain it to me. How the CGI in any given instance is bad, and I'll take the defensive posture on that and say the CGI is not bad. Um, but yeah, just an excellent movie. The writing is fantastic. The the acting is amazing. It's again, it's not what people try to claim because they're trying to claim it in a uh, quick take fashion is the way that it could be described. Just um, saying something to get the attention of others, and that hmm, just it's not what we need. It's never been what we need. But it's also weird that people hate on this movie for things that they claim they wanted. Like I said back in one movie, and then like, oh no, you don't get it in that movie. You got it here, and it's like, oh, I hate this movie because Henry Cavill doesn't smile. And then, of course, a meme comes out with all the times Henry Cavill was smiling. In this particular movie, it's just, mm-mm-mm, too bad. This movie is great. Man of Steel is great. It's my number one of Superman movies. Nothing has topped it yet, and not likely to. The um, well, I saw it on Yahoo News, and then there's some other stuff um, was putting out that listen to me on this. Follow the math, okay? And I'll be done with this. Just Superman 2025 comes out, and there's this great boost of movies being watched on the streaming service Max. Now, I don't have HBO Max. If you've got it, go ahead and do what you want with it. I don't have it. And the viewership for all these different movies and shows is boosting. Now, they only give percentages on some, so I'm going to give it to you off the top of my head and all that. It's about a 91% increase in the Peacemaker show, is what it said. Which means if there was one person watching it, a second person came along and watched it. Well, 9/10 of a person came along and watched it. So basically, one other person came along. It doubled its viewership. Okay. Don't know if that's any good or not. I mean, season one is what they're talking about, and that's just, for most people, that's a rewatch, not just an original. Um, and then in that same article, it said that the Man of Steel had increased by 218%. So, you one person, two more people came and joined that one, and 0.18. So, from the foot to the knee on one side, I guess. Anyway, I'm not trying to say how you divide people up. That would be weird. So anyway, going from there, uh, Man of Steel increased by 218%. Superman the movie increased by like 350%, I think was the number. Close to it anyway. I think it was in the 340s, but I'm not totally sure. But 300+%, the original Superman the movie showed up or increased in viewership. Excuse me. Like I said, I'll be done really soon. And it then said the documentary that they've had for a little while, Superman, Christopher Reeve's story, increased by 1,200 and some odd number. So again, 1,200. That's 1,200. Okay, 1,200%. Not 12,000, but 1,200%. Again, 100% would be like adding one person to you. So 1,200% would be I'm watching it, 12 other people are watching it with me. Well, then the article goes on to say that Man of Steel is getting the most viewership of any Superman project or type or movie or whatever. It is getting a closet full of views. I'm not saying closet full, a flood of views. It's getting more views than anybody else, okay, or any other Superman title. And they were, throwing Peacemaker in there to talk about these numbers, trying to say, okay, there's interest in what's going on and what's coming, because Peacemaker season 2 is coming out before long. I'm not a fan of Peacemaker, so the Peacemaker. Didn't care for the cameo of him in the movie, so it doesn't really matter though. But I'm talking about the movie Superman. But if Man of Steel is the most watched movie, and it increased 200 times, and the original in 1978 increased 300 times, but was not named as the most watched movie, and the documentary was not named as the most watched of all these films, that means Superman, the Man of Steel, already had a viewership that was enough higher to beat that 300%, uh, increase for the original, or 1,200% increase for the documentary. It means that Man of Steel still has a following, even while the other Superman movie is coming out. Now, sure, you might be able to say, "Oh, there's only 5 people watching Superman," and so what? They gain, 10 more. That's 15, and you go ahead and calculate that out. Say there's only 2 people watching, the original Superman, and it had 3 more to join. Okay, you're still at 5. Okay. Well, how about 1,200%? There's one person watching it, and they add 12. That's 13. Ah, okay. I see what you did there. I see what you. Anyway, I'm gonna be done with this. That's the re-ranking I would give it. I'm not trying to hype up the movie. I'm not the Superman 2025. But James Gunn and Company is welcome to try buy me off. Send me a whole bunch of good material, and you know, some of those Prime Iron Studios, Prime One Studio statues and stuff like that. You send me those, I'll do some unboxings for you, and I'll sit there and say, yeah, well, this is what was good about Superman 2025, and I'll tell you honestly how I still feel about it. It's the way it is. Um, it is what it is, and no amount of rhetoric from people being bought off by gifts and things like that is going to change what it is. It is what it is. Anyway, I'm not going to belabor this any further. It's been over an hour and 20 minutes. But I love a whole bunch of these movies, even if they're rated somewhat lower on the list. Maybe it's rated lower just because it's not really a Superman movie. Supergirl kind of falls in that, but it's way down on the list. They had the opportunity to do a cameo with Christopher Reeve, and they just put it on a poster instead. And that is, again, missed opportunities. It had potential. It could have been better, and it had some good comic book elements focused into it. But I'm repeating myself too much. Um, Go back and watch Man of Steel on Max, you know, or on your own, whatever it is you may have. Like I have it, you know, on Fandango at home. You might watch it on Prime Video or something else. But whatever you watch Man of Steel on, you can comment below. Let me know how much you like it. Uh, Tell me where you would rank these 17 movies, if you will. Or tell me a list of movies that all the Superman movies you can think of in whatever ranking that you have them. And maybe I'll try to rewatch anything I haven't seen in a while or watch something that I haven't seen at all and get a new ranking of all Superman movies, excluding cameo appearances, if you will. So yeah, let's leave it at that. I'm gonna do another video again about some other information. That's the best I'm gonna say right now. Lots of information, and I'm not I'm not gonna criticize new stuff in this information. It's just information about DCEU. So check that out if you will, if you can find it. And if I quit rambling too weirdly, I apologize. But I appreciate you sticking with me, especially if you come all the way to the end now. I should probably send you something for a reward. Comment below, let me know you finished the whole video, and maybe I will send you something, assuming I know where to send it. Anyway, we will see you in the next video. Bye.